Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into the microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and I continue with Hellblade, Senua Sacrifice Blind. And last time I acquired the necessary marks to open the gate to Helheim, so let's do just that.
Waiting. Open the gate. Open the gate. No, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Don't open the gate. Don't. She's done it. So dark. It's dark. The darkness. Only the dead may cross. Only the dead may cross it. Truth? Anyone?
There is no one here but me.
Not you.
Did you think that I would let you go? That you lost me back in the wilds? I will never let you go. You can't get rid of me. I am your shadow. And I will be watching when you draw your last dying gasp.
I'm not ready to die.
You will be when you see what they did to your dear beloved.
Damien!
In this waking nightmare, where all dreams come true, you searched for control, a way to pull through. When you were in love, you left him in tears, to smother your furies and banish your fears. But in darkness they came, through stormy black seas they raided these shores. Do you still hear his screams? And now that you're home, he's so far away. They've taken his soul. To these gods you cannot pray. They can break you, but not your promise. Even death won't keep you apart. Through his darkness you will find him. In your sword still beats a heart. You fought for love unspoilt by your darkness within. You fought for your dreams. Now there's no way to win. In the head of his corpse lies the seat of his soul. So you must carry his vessel to bring him back home.
No!
They can break you, but not your promise. Even death won't keep you apart. Through this darkness you will find him. In your sword still beats a heart. The darkness touched you. Everyone could see it in the hollows of your eyes. A gaze averted from life. You ran from it but brought it nearer. it to him. An endless suffering, worse than death. And you wanted to surrender, abandon and to find peace with the gods. No. The darkness won't allow it. So you will walk into the lair of the beast. Look it in the eye, and you will go to war. This is your mission. This is your quest. There is nothing else left.
Okay, I was mightily confused there for a second, because when the voice, which I'm assuming is the god of deceit, whom I've theoretically defeated, but when he spoke about how the seat of the soul of her beloved is in his head, and that she must take the head with her to save his soul, I was like, how is that possible if she already has the head and then she cuts off the head of the corpse? But then I realized that it was actually all a flashback, which could be gathered, well, not only from that, but also from the fact that she lacked her war paint at the time. So I guess what happened is that Dillion was killed by the Norsemen in a raid or something, and then I guess she cut off his head because she believed that his soul, like, that is somehow necessary for the purpose of saving his soul, and then she went on this whole quest to Helheim to save him from damnation or whatever. But I still don't quite get it, because first of all, from what I understand, Dillion wasn't a Norseman, so why would he end up in a Norse afterlife? That's my one question. My other question is, if he was killed in a raid, that is technically being killed in battle, right? So why would he end up in Helheim if that isn't a dishonorable death? Well, unless he was fleeing and was cut down, I don't know, with a strike to the back when he was trying to save his life or something. I'm not quite sure. And also, I don't quite get the whole. Like, I understand that apparently, the Senua's people and Senua herself believed that your head was somehow, was the place that housed your soul, as it were. It was what made you you, which isn't that surprising. It was usually, in those older cultures, it was either the head or the heart. But what I don't quite get is how, she went on this whole quest to save his soul, but if his soul was in his head, then, which one is it? Why does she need it? Does she need it because she needs the head to house the soul after she saves him? She saves the soul from Helheim, and then she needs a vessel for the soul to keep, so that she can take it away, because maybe the souls can't leave the afterlife, the underworld, unless they have a vessel. So maybe she literally keeps the head with her as a container for the soul once she finds it. So it was all pretty confusing, but I guess also kind of made sense. So with that being said, let's continue through the bridge.
It's nearly over. Finish it.
The gods made you a warrior for a reason. It's your calling.
Oops. I must say, for something that's apparently my calling, I'm really bad at it. Yeah, they killed me. I don't quite get it, because sometimes I can make that last dodge when she's down on her knees, but this time I was clicking it and I thought I got the timing correctly, but she didn't do anything, she just got hit and died. It's weird. I was pretty certain I was in the correct position to attack him from behind, and he still blocked it with his shield, so I don't quite get how that works.
Every gate you open into darkness brings another challenge.
Get up, quick! She's hurt. She won't make it. She's injured. She's not gonna make it.
Okay, I don't see anything. And to be honest, this whole attack, the initial attack that struck me down, it felt very much like part of a cutscene, so I don't even feel particularly guilty about falling for that.
Now, this is nearly the end.
Oops, I wasted that because I activated it the exact moment when he disappeared anyway.
Behind you!
Okay, I'm dead.
Take him down! Take him down! Get him down! Behind you! He's finished! Behind you! Behind you! Watch out!
But where's the big one? I was under the impression he was someone important, and I don't think I killed him, he just, I don't know, disappeared in a blinding flash. Oh, that's trippy. It's almost like a graphical error, but like it doesn't look like something that should be here. But I guess that might be exactly the point. Okay, let's open the other door. It seems I can't. Okay, so I guess the other door were the door that I originally came through. and another pair of runes, or even 3 of them, so not exactly a pair. So an X shape?
The journey to Helheim is never a straight one. Each must find their own path. Align yourself to its secrets, and you will find yours.
I can almost already see this is clearly somewhat important, right? The hanging metal object above me. I probably just need to stand in a correct position to align that. Okay, so that's one of them. I don't think I can open this, because that's where I originally came from. Okay, there's another one of those lore stones.
However you come to the gold-covered bridge that leads to Hell, you may find it guarded by a giantess. She will ask your name. She will ask your lineage. She will ask your business. The Northmen tell of the warrior woman Brynhild, who leapt into fire and rode to Hell to join her slain love Sigurd, and is challenged by the giantess.
So I guess this is somewhat similar to the story of Senua herself, right? She's going into Helheim to rescue the soul of her beloved, and I would imagine they didn't mention the giantess for nothing either. I will probably meet her at some point. Focus, so was there a point? Okay, the runes aren't really flashing when I run around here. However, there is this weird blue hue around the edges of my screen. Okay, so I guess this opens from the other side, as it often does. But how would I get there in the first place? There is a ruined staircase. Maybe if I could find one of those illusion gates, it would repair the staircase and allow me to get to the upper floor or something. I can't interact with this. There has to be something to be done on the ship, right? Like, this whole area must exist for some reason. Doesn't look like I can climb the mast. It says focus here. But focus on what exactly? Okay, so I don't quite get it. Like, why did the staircase materialize now? The only thing I did was to look at it. So, is it because maybe I've defeated the avatar of Valoran, the god of illusions, and maybe it gave Senua like an inherent ability to see through those illusions or something? I'm not quite sure, but apparently... Okay, this looks kind of promising somewhat, provided I stand in the correct place. Maybe the staircase itself? Oh! Okay, so that's the second rune. I'll go upstairs first. Ah. I think the game somewhat misaligned that, but it's still, you can clearly see it, that's it, right? You combine the X with like the dash above. Okay, so that's all of the rooms, but before I leave, I want to explore the other options around here, namely this route. There's another lore stone, and this route as well. I guess this isn't really a route. Ah, it's another face. Is that Senua's mother again? But it doesn't look like I can interact with it, so maybe I need to activate something?
Oh, Senua. Your father does not hate me. He just fears the souls in the underworld. He cannot see that they are already afraid. But I am their healer, and I must answer their cries for help, even if it displeases him.
So I guess Senua's mother was like a shaman as well, now communicating with the souls of the dead. I must also say that it was a pretty trippy effect, because it almost looked like, I'm not sure if there's any live performance by actual actors, but sometimes the faces of the characters in the cutscenes look so realistic and so like that I almost feel like they might have been filmed with actual actors, and this time it was sort of interposed against the vague outline of the face on the roof, and it was kind of trippy. Okay, let's listen to that.
Hela possesses large dwelling places in Helheim. Tall are her walls, high are her gates. The name of her dish is hunger. Her knife is famine. On her threshold all will stumble. Her bed is called sick bed, and her bed hangings are called flames of a funeral pyre. They say she is easy to recognize, half black and half the color of flesh, and her face menacing and grim.
Okay. Well, if I keep dying, then I myself will soon be half the color of flesh and half black with rot. Okay, I should be able to exit now. And there's supposed to be a giantess guarding the bridge, so I fully expect to actually meet her and probably fight her, or at least explain my business, as they put it. Because apparently she asks you your lineage and...
The gate. It's opening.
What's it? It's coming.
That song again.
Is it? Is it? Is it?
It's Hela.
Yes, the source of the darkness. It's coming. This is your moment.
I'm sorry. I can't watch this.
What are you doing? You're showing weakness. You're not a warrior. You're a disgrace. The gods will punish you for this. Pick up the sword. Pick it up. Fight the darkness. Fight it. Get up. Get up. Get up and fight.
Stormy seas and lost souls.
She's dreamt of this before. They say dreams are visions of our memories, thoughts, and fears, as seen by our inner eye. But what if each one of us is always dreaming, even when awake, and we only see what our inner eye creates for us? Is this what Hell is? A world shaped by Senua's nightmares. Maybe that's why people feared seeing the world through her eyes.
Because if you believe that Senua's reality is twisted,
You must accept.
that yours might be too.
You failed the gods. You're pathetic. Rotten. Cursed. What were you thinking? Did you really think you could win? How stupid can you be?
So stupid.
Everyone hates her. She's cursed.
The shadow hates.
Look at you. A warrior. Worthless. Weak. Pathetic. Go on. Feel sorry for yourself, because there's no one left to do that for you.
Everywhere. What's that?
Take it. If you're too much of a coward to fight, then end the suffering. Broken and lost. Just like your soul.
Come on. Dare.
Why go on when you give everything and face that which torments you, only to find that it is worse than you could have imagined? Why go on? Is it really so weak to ask this? Or are we just so afraid of the honest answer that we do not dare pose the question?
Sometimes the answer lies in a memory, a feeling, a song. It's not real. It's a trick. It's not real. Listen to it.
Don't give up.
Did he?
Come to me. Please.
The light. Go towards the light. It's him. There he is. It can't be him. It's just a trick. It's in your mind.
No, he's here.
It's in your mind.
It's real. It's happening.
Go towards it.
Okay, so I don't quite understand what has happened, because it seems she branded herself with like hot iron, and I'm not sure why, because the voices were pretty much telling her that she's a disgrace and that she should kill herself. But it didn't look like if you wanted to kill yourself with a knife, you would either slit your wrists, cut your own throat, or stab yourself in the heart. Like, what would putting a hot piece of metal to your brow do in the context of attempting to commit suicide? Like, I guess you could if you tried hard enough, but it doesn't strike me as the most efficient way to do it. So it didn't look like she wanted to kill herself, she wanted to brand herself, but I don't understand why. Maybe she did it as a punishment for failure, because she felt that she is a disgrace indeed, and that she has failed, and that she must suffer some form of consequences for that, but she didn't want to outright kill herself. But I still don't quite get it. I do want to comment on the fact that when who I assume is still the god of illusions, who seems to be like the main personification of her mental problems, because he keeps talking about the darkness and about the curse. When he was like berating her and telling her that she's worthless and that she's scum and that she should die and whatever, it was coming out of her own mouth, and like she was looking into a mirror and she was cursing herself and telling herself that she's worthless, which was a really poignant moment to me, and it was pretty like emotional for me to see that, because that's exactly how this kind of thing works, right? In real life, when you have very serious problems, like mood disorders, like depression or whatever, then those problems are so very ingrained in you that they are like they are a part of you, and there are points in your life in which you sincerely believe all those bad things about yourself. Like, you seriously believe, for example, that you are the worst person that has ever lived or something, and that the world would be better if you were dead. So it was just cool. Well, obviously it isn't cool in real life, but it was cool in game to see it represented in such a way, when she was basically battling herself, which I guess struggling with mental illness is pretty much exactly that. You're at some point you're your own worst enemy. So yeah, I just wanted to comment about that, and with that being said, let's continue, because she heard who I assume is Dillian, her beloved, calling her, and she still has the head. But how does... okay, that's just the scabbard, because I was wondering, how does she still have the sword if it was shattered? But she very clearly doesn't have it. It's just an empty scabbard. Now, there was a line earlier that I didn't quite get, but it seemed pretty significant, especially in the context of her lacking the sword now, because the voice said something about how in her sword there beats a heart, or something like that.
There it is. It's Dylan. He's gone. He's gone. Slow.
How could you?
Keep going. How could you keep going?
Ignore the pain.
I told you it was to trick you. I told you.
Where are you going?
See, there's nothing to follow. Come on.
Before she first met him, she was not in a good place. Just a teenager, but not like the others. Barely functioning, she rarely left the house. Her father's in-bell made sure of that. Only occasionally did she venture out on her own, collecting firewood and herbs. Errands out in the Orkney Plains. That was her world. Like this one. Barren and lonely.
I'm not sure why, but I'm weirdly annoyed by the use of the word teenager, because, like, don't quote me on that because I don't have any solid evidence, but it seems to me like it wouldn't be a word that was used at the time. Like, I can't imagine, surely there must have been, well, obviously they were speaking a different language altogether, but even if you assume that they were speaking English, there must have been a better way to call a teenage person back in the day. Like, I can't imagine them straight up calling them teenagers. That's an awfully modern phrase, to my ear at least. And it's somewhat damages my suspension of disbelief.
It's already disappeared. Nothing lives here, not even you. It's in your mind. You think you can see it, but it's in your mind.
There he was. The lone figure of a boy.
He's there, under the tree.
His soul lay under the shade of a tree.
You have to.
She remembers the first time she saw him. To her young eyes, he moved as if dancing. And the world danced with him. The gloom lifted. For the first time in years, she felt
He's there, under the tree.
a ray of hope.
I can see him. Come, you have to keep. Dillian, go waiting. Keep going.
So that's because I was wondering, the figure, the shadowy figure of, well, maybe it's not shadowy, but the, like, I don't know, illusion or something of Dillian, it did look like he was fighting someone. And I guess now from the narration that it's her, it's Senua, reminiscing about the first time she met him, which was when he was practicing swordplay under a tree. And then she, like, fell in love with him after seeing that. Let's listen to that.
The Northmen tell of a great hero. His name is Sigmund. His father's hall was built around a great tree, and one day Odin comes and thrusts a sword into the tree, a gift to whomever can release it. Many try, but the sword only comes out at Sigmund's touch. His brother-in-law, King Siggeir, wants it, but Sigmund refuses him, so King Siggeir plots revenge. He invites Sigmund and his brothers to a feast, but when they arrive, they are met with an army, not a warm welcome. King Siggeir captures Sigmund and his brothers, steals his coveted sword, and readies them for execution.
So that's almost like a proto-Red Wedding scenario. I was aware that such instances actually did happen in history. Most notably in Scottish history, there was something called, I think, a Black Feast or something like that, where one guy invited a bunch of his rivals to a feast and promised them, you know, safety and guest right and whatever, and then slaughtered them all. But apparently something similar also happened in the Norse mythology, although I must say that if only Siggeir have read the Song of Ice and Fire, he would know that it's pointless to capture his enemies first, because the only thing it gives them is the opportunity to escape if he had taken a page out of Walder Frey's book, then he would just straight up murder them all on the spot. Okay, I'll go up to the gate, because then I will know what runes I want to look for. Okay, that's something different. This isn't the symbol of the god of illusions, so it isn't the matter of finding the ravens or anything. I'm not sure what should I do with that. It doesn't give me any instructions, and Senua herself doesn't even fully focus on that, so presumably I need to keep exploring and some kind of a solution will present itself eventually. Okay, I'll look around. This is quite a large space, so there's obviously something important around here, apart from just the gate. Okay, another one of those lore stones. Presumably it's going to tell me the next part of the story of Sigmund and what happened to him after he got captured.
Death for Sigmund and his brothers seems certain. But the king's wife is Sigmund's sister, and she begs for mercy and implores the king to chain them up instead. He agrees. Not for mercy, though, but because he plans an even more cruel and lingering death. Chained to a tree in the forest that night, a she-wolf comes and devours one of Sigmund's brothers. She returns, ravenous, night after night, until only Sigmund is left. The next day, Sigmund's sister sends a servant with honey to smear on Sigmund's face. But to what end? Well, that night, when the she-wolf appears again, you'll never guess what happens.
It's kind of weird how the seer almost like tells those stories with cliffhangers in mind. Like he's obviously somewhat enjoying himself or relating those. What I assume happened is that the she-wolf just licked the honey off of Sigmund's face instead of eating him, although that makes me wonder, would honey really be a good incentive for a wolf? Like, would a wolf prefer honey to actual meat? I somehow doubt it. Oh, there's a tree with like hanged man, which I guess is probably evocative of the tree that Odin himself hanged himself from, which was incidentally also related in one of the lore stones before. I imagine this is just an alternate way of getting here. Yeah.
Day after day, watching from afar, she mimicked him,
perfecting her own secret dance. Wishing those fleeting moments of light would stretch out to last forever.
So she was watching him train with his sword, and then started to pick up sword fighting on her own. Although I must say, if that was a modern context, that would be kind of stalkery, you know, to just keep watching him from afar for an extended amount of time, because judging from the way it was told, you'd assume it would have to be in weeks or maybe months for her to start learning sword fighting just by watching him, and never introduce herself. Like, sure, I understand, you know, that it would probably have been difficult. I myself am a rather shy person by nature, and if the voices are to be believed, then it seems Senua has suffered from different kind of psychological problems all her life, even back in childhood, because it kept talking about how meeting Dillion was the first time that she ever felt happy and that she ever felt any kind of hope. But still, it doesn't strike me as the best beginning for a relationship, because if you learned that there was a person that was watching you for weeks or months and didn't even tell you, then you probably wouldn't have the best opinion about that person. But maybe it was different back in the day. Let's listen what happened with Sigmund and the she-wolf.
As the she-wolf licks the sweet honey from Sigmund's face, he bites the wolf's tongue. The she-wolf pulls away, but Sigmund holds on. The chains break, and he is free. After his escape, Sigmund lives like us, hidden in the forest. His enemy, King Siggeir, believing him dead, as his sister plots revenge. And for vengeance to succeed, even the great Sigmund needs help. So she sends her sons to him. But their blood is weak and corrupted, and they're put to death by Sigmund. So his sister hatches a new plan, one that is cold of heart and pure of blood.
Okay, I must admit I wasn't expecting that. Like, I expected the wolf to lick off, lick the honey off of Sigmund's face, but I wasn't expecting him to bite the wolf. And even if he did, I'm not sure how from that it would follow that he broke the chains. Like, how would biting the wolf help him in breaking the chains? It doesn't seem to follow. But then again, I'm not a Norseman myself, so there might have been some details that, you know, I overlooked. Maybe biting a wolf's tongue gives you super strength or something.
How does he so effortlessly court the world and bliss?
If only she could do the same. See the world through eyes anew and dance with it, just like he does.
So is that a memory of Senua's childhood home? You know, her village? And this would be the tree under which Dillion has been training, and under which she saw him for the first time. And I'm almost steeling myself for some kind of a horrible transition, because after all, in the other reality, it's actually a dead tree full of hanged corpses. So there has to be, like, she walks up to it and she sees him and then it transitions back to the other world and she's like, I don't know, kissing a corpse or something. That's what I'm expecting.
What's your name?
Senua.
I haven't seen you before.
I don't leave home much.
Oh, Zenua's daughter.
I have to go.
Wait. Who taught you to fight like that?
No one.
No one?
Well, I watched you, and...
You learnt all of that from watching me? You should become a warrior, you know.
Me?
I'm Dillian. I'm here for the warrior trials. Just come and watch. And bring your sword.
You can't put it into words. That moment when you look into the eyes of the one who's supposed to reassure you, make you feel safe. It only takes an instant. Fear swallows you before you have a chance to make sense of it. And darkness becomes a part of who you are.
You killed him.
But her world changed the day the Northmen took him from her. Senua knows that there's no going back to how things were. That there's nothing to go back to at all.
Stay still, stay quiet, hide, don't tell her.
Their gods can see into your mind. They will use this power to destroy you.
They won't stop me. I can still feel him.
Whatever's left of him, they will never let him go.
I'm not gonna let him rot here.
You're the one rotting here.
Leave me alone.
You will die here.
No.
And all your suffering will have been for nothing.
Shut up! Dillian? Is that you? I'll find you, my love. I promise.
Okay, that wasn't as horrible of a transition as I was expecting. And also, what was interesting to me, that the voices at some point kept telling Senua that it was her who killed Dillian. I'm not sure if that's just because obviously the voices, or at least some of them and most of the time, are antagonistic towards her and that she blames herself for what happened to him, but it doesn't necessarily imply that it is true that she killed him directly. But I guess there is a possibility that that is true, which would kind of expect, first of all, her immense guilt and her reasons for wanting to fix this, and second, it would explain why Dillian is in Helheim, because if she killed him, I don't know, via some underhanded means or by accident, then it wouldn't count as an honorable death, because I was wondering about that earlier, how he supposedly died in a Norseman raid, and yet he's here in Helheim with the people who have died from poison or from old age or from suicide. So there's obviously something happening here in the background, but I guess I'll learn more as I go along. For now, this episode has been long enough, so I'll end it here. That's all for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!